Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Pete Renzulli, Class B member at T3 Trading Group, Chief Marketing Officer, T3 Live. Welcome to the daily recap on Wednesday afternoon, November 7th. And very interesting day, to say the least. What can you say other than the market has spoken and the indecision of the presidency is out of the way, and buyers and sellers got back to the task of making a commitment with their dollars to where they believe they should be. And today it was clear the sellers were at the front of the pack. It's interesting. I'm going to take a look at as many stocks as we can from both the longer term perspective as well as the intraday perspective to give you an idea of the ferocity of the selling, and then the intraday reversal that we had off the lows, which was a pretty decent push. The spiders themselves, actually, if we can go on to the 15-minute chart here, the spiders, to put it in perspective, actually bounced roughly $1.50 off the lows. And if we could zoom in on the 5-minute chart, you might be able to see it just a little bit better. You can see there was a couple of times in here where you thought that might have been capitulatory volume, but it just did not turn out to be that way. For those of you who aren't familiar with capitulation volume, essentially, if you worked on the floor of the exchange, at least this is how it was explained to me from former NYSE specialists when I traded with them, it's called a cleanup print. Essentially what happens is if a move occurs over time and at the end of a significant move, or actually you won't even know it's the end of the move until afterwards, but if you've had a significant move in one direction or the other and then you see a very large volume print, which more often than not in my experience can be seen best on 5-minute charts and daily charts. For whatever reason, they're not as clear on the other time frames. What happens is the buying or selling pressure that pushed a particular stock in that direction, whoever is doing that buying or selling, more often than not, they are the main buyer or seller. And they will know that by being involved in the stock, and then if they take a break, in other words, they're done pushing it up or down and they let it go, and if it doesn't continue in that direction, that essentially will tell them that they are the big player in that stock at that particular moment. So what ends up happening is, let's just say for argument's sake, I'll just throw a number out there, 200,000 shares left. If I know I'm the only person doing it, I might end up pushing it up or down on myself by throwing that whole order out there at once to finish the order. So what happens is a order is negotiated for somebody to take the entire order and of the balance of the order, and that's where you usually see these spikes in volume. So it looked like we got one there, but the selling was not quite done yet. And actually, interestingly, one of the biggest parts that I had mentioned there was after a significant move. And clearly, if we go back to the daily charts, we were not in a significant down move at that point. As a matter of fact, the last 2 days were higher. So that's why when you take a look at the intraday pushes down here and we had those increases in volume, it wasn't the case because we were not actually in a significant down move over the last days, weeks, or even month. That's usually a longer time period where you end up seeing that. So then we actually did end up bottoming out just above 139, and this moved from 139.50 to 139.17, if I'm not mistaken. 139.06, excuse me. Happened very, very quickly. Ended up bouncing, and we never really retested the lows again. But from a daily chart perspective, 140 that we spoke about this morning in the morning call seemed to have been the area that we were looking for support to come in. I actually did bid into that level, did not earn anything on it. I was short on the way down. A few stocks I was actually short overnight. But the 140 didn't hold, and the selling was a lot more intense than anybody had expected. If we start out by taking a look at Apple, I think everybody that I have spoken to was looking for the 200 period moving average to hold, and if it wasn't the 200, then we were over here looking at this level from the end of July, and that got penetrated pretty quickly here again this morning. So Apple has now pushed down to the point where we're going to have to start to look out to where's the next significant level, and right now it looks like it's 550 or let's get the exact number, 550 or 528.66. So those are the next two levels in Apple right now. And again, look at this weekly chart. You can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks in a row of selling. 7 weeks. That's a lot. Now, again, we mentioned this morning, once a stock moves a particular direction a certain amount of days in a row, what are the odds if it, in this case, gaps down and continues after that many days in a row? But it really wasn't down the last 2 days, so it's really the short sale today still had some probability to the downside because we weren't exactly, I can't even find a place where Apple was down that many days in a row. You know, maybe here in this window here, and you can see we got a couple of day consolidation. So look, I mentioned it in both the private active trader room this morning as well as the main virtual trading floor. If you are a bullish Apple trader only because you believe in the product, you believe in the company, you believe it's going up, you know, whatever it happens to be, please do not blind yourself and saying the stock always comes back because, look, let's face it, it's $142 off of the September highs, if not a little bit more than that. Do not fool yourself into saying it's too low or it's too high. You know, if you read Reminiscence of a Stock Operator, it's a classic part of the book. It's never too high, it's never too low to be short selling, or in his case, you know, he's normally buying. But the point I'm trying to make here is I've seen more than one trader push themselves out of the business by being blinded by a stock and saying it always comes back. Be disciplined in your stop losses and keep, especially in a stock like this that's getting hit when the market is getting hit as well with it. If you are going to, as Scott would say, take a tactical long, in this case, if you are a long only trader in the stock, make sure it's with 1/5 to 1/3 of whatever your normal share size is until the stock and or the trade starts to work out, and then add a position. Do not, in my opinion, you should not be taking a flyer on quote unquote it's too low. All right, so as of right now it's still pushing down. We'll see what kind of open we get tomorrow. Based on today's close, I'd be looking for the stock to open lower. We'll see, you don't know, but let's go through some of the other ones as well. Google, actually, last few days has now pushed down to below the 670 level. And again, a lot of these stocks are going to be going out on the weekly charts to see where the next level is. And if you look clearly here, this level was the breakout right around 660. So we're actually pretty close to a significant support level here. And Google could push down there in one swoop. So essentially what I'm trying to set up for you here right now, and if I'm doing my job helping you set a game plan for tomorrow based on today's recap, you should be looking for either strong stocks that held up today, which we're going to go over a couple of those in a second, or if you want to be long a stock that you normally like on the long side or only trade on the long side, you should be looking for a significant place buyers did something the last time, and that in this particular stock here is 660. Okay, buyers were finally able to push it through this level here, and we're coming right back into that support level again. IBM, very similar, a little bit of a mess here. We had a really nice flag, had a good down day a couple of days ago, and now we're working our way back down into support. So now the opposite of that is if we're working our way down into support and the stock has already come in 198 to this support will end up being about 190.30, 190.40. It just pulled in $8 if it gets down to that support level. So again, the reward potential for the amount of risk you have to take, you do not want to take a one-to-one risk reward. So the better short sale in IBM at this point would be below the support, not shorting a lower opening into the support, because then the reward potential gets skewed there. There's not as good on the short side. So we could go over a long list of stocks here today that were to the downside, that would pretty much be almost everything, really, quite frankly. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to segue into some stocks that finished positive from the open and see if there's some opportunities that we could be looking for stocks to buy tomorrow. And the one that stands out the most for me today, again, CDE and this whole sector got hit pretty hard, but that's a pretty impressive move today relative to what the rest of the market did. Starbucks has been on quite a few lists. Oops, sorry, I didn't spell it right there. On quite a few lists with this 52 level. You can see we keep getting these topping tails here. We're having a hard time. This is one of those stocks where if I'm sitting with a mentee, I'm sitting next to somebody I'm coaching, I would say 52 is the right number. So you're either getting it from a good spot lower, which, oh my word, was this morning a good spot lower. Matter of fact, well, let's actually take a look at it on the 5-minute chart so you can see what it really looked like. That was this move here. So lower opening in a strong stock, 51.10, 52.30 in the first half hour of the day. over $1.20 move higher right out of the gate today. So that would be the kind of move that I'd be looking to bid into in Starbucks tomorrow, as opposed to bidding into a higher opening at the 52 level that it hasn't been able to get through. So I like it over 52. I don't like it on until it gets above there. So a lower bid tomorrow into the 52 level as a profit target, or a higher opening above that 52 flagging would be one of the two scenarios. So make sure that you understand one of those two, but you don't want to be bidding right into that 52. It's got 4 times now. It hasn't been able to push through there. All right, but we do have some other stocks that actually had a decent day today. Ciena, and again, you want to start making a list of stocks that potentially could be on your radar. Nice gap up this morning in Ciena, really good volume. You can see the volume on the bottom. Obviously the $15 level, gap down, resistance, and we're almost at that level again. So again, you don't want to be buying into the resistance level. Again, the last place sellers did something significant, these two spots. But if we do clear this, looking at 1650. All right, so moving down the list just a little bit more. Time Warner actually had earnings today. Okay, nice pop there. It was been basically hovering around the 50-period EMA, and a really solid day. So again, you want to start at the minimum if you are a buy-side trader where you only trade long. When you do your scans tonight, there's 2 things you should be looking for. Number 1 is stocks that closed above the open. Number 2 are stocks that are in uptrends and closed above the open. That second scenario would be the better one. So if the market gives you some buying opportunity, those you want to be your go-to stocks first. Remember, you want to create your list before the market opens. If you're looking for ideas after the market opens, you're not prepared. You want to have that list set in stone prior to the market open. So again, keeping with that theme of stocks that closed above the open, Netflix is kind of flagging really nicely. I know Mark had mentioned it, Scott mentioned it. Look, I mean, it had whatever the reason was, icon, not icon, it doesn't make a difference. It gapped up, stayed, and pushed up and staying there. Now, again, it is hovering, so you have a choice. Do I bid it near 75, looking for 80 as the target, or do I wait for it to get above 80, looking for 85 as the target? I think they're both valid trades. Just don't bid for it at 77.50. You don't want to get involved in the middle of a $5 trading range. Get it near the bottom and look for 80 as the resistance and or the target, which is also very close to the 200 EMA there, or let it get above that 80, somewhere between 79 and 80. Let it flag intraday continuation patterns and look for 85 to be the level. So we had a few stocks that were like that. Just following through the list here. Again, just helping on stocks on both sides of the market. So possibly you can find something that is buyable. Really no other way to say that if you want to trade the long side. One interesting one, that's JDSU there. One interesting one that I was looking at today was UAL. It's now closed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days in a row above the open. There's some good relative strength in there. With the price of oil coming down, this used to be a really solid trade for me, where you're basically trading one off the other. If oil goes down, this goes up, this and vice versa. And pretty good move here. Now, again, you can see clearly all the moving averages pretty much are sideways, especially the 200 there. Maybe the 8's pointed up a little bit based on the last couple of days, but if we get above the 200, then you're looking at 21.75. Monster move? No, but got to be impressed with the relative strength that it had today. So again, what I'd recommend doing when you're doing your game planning tonight, okay, very, very clearly, if you're short selling, look for stocks that closed below the open and have room to go for a short sale. Again, like that IBM trade, you don't want to be bidding in, you don't want to be shorting into support. If you are a buyer, first part of your scan is to find stocks that traded above the open. Second part of that scan is to find stocks that are either at support, near a significant support level, or already in uptrends, looking for stocks to reassume those uptrends if the market catches a bid again. I am anticipating tomorrow we get some follow through to the downside. We finished down over 300 today. That's a pretty significant move to the downside. It might be a little bit of an overreaction just based on elections over and whatnot. It could be, but again, if we're a little choppy in the morning, which we might be because of the severity of the move today, usually get big volatility followed by a little contraction. Let the opening market settle in, that opening 15-minute candle. Know your pre-market high, your pre-market low. So at least within the first half hour, 45 minutes, if you're a very active trader, you will have a reference point to say we're moving closer to or further away. We broke out of the opening range, or we're still within the pre-market levels, whatever it happens to be. So if we get a lower opening tomorrow, make sure sure there's room to go. If we get a higher opening tomorrow, probably a better short selling opportunity, looking for a retest of today's lows, if not breaking through those lows. So again, if you primarily trade long and you got caught off guard a little bit today, I hope that you were disciplined with your stop losses. Again, learn from it. Little reframe there for everybody, something that I do with myself all the time. If I have a losing day, if I have a losing trade, losing week, whatever it happens to be, don't stew on it. Tell yourself you just went to a seminar, and again, I'll just throw a stock out there. Let's say it's the spiders. Say you traded the spiders, you lost money in the spiders, you didn't do what you were supposed to do. Say, write down your trading journal. Went to a seminar today on how to trade the spiders. Cost me $722.52, and here's what I learned. Reframe it, get back on the boat. If you know what you're doing, let it go. It's a business expense. Maybe it was a little bigger than you might have wanted to, but look for spots. The stock is strong. Look for stocks that are in uptrends. Know what kind of open you expect tomorrow. Have your day planned out before it happens. This is Pete Renzulli. Have a great night, everybody.